afternoon, Rose.
Hi, how's it going?
It's morning for me, but afternoon for you. So
So
you're in the future, so you could tell me how it's going to be today. Is it a good day or a bad day? I don't know.
Intense.
Intense? Oh man, that doesn't sound good.
I don't know. Intense is quite productive, isn't it?
It can be. I remember the first time I realized that music was affecting me in a certain way. It was, I must have been. I don't really know how long ago this was. I don't know what age I was. I'm not sure. When we really, how far back we can go in memory. So I would assume I was around somewhere between 4 and 6 years of age, right? And I remember there was a song on the radio. See, I grew up in the 80s as a child, so I was listening to a lot of, the origins of very mainstream pop music with Madonna and Prince, Michael Jackson, and all that. And I remember the bridge specifically of a song. I can't tell you who the artist was or what the song was, but I remember asking my mom, who was taking me to elementary school, what it was that had happened in the song that made me feel the way I did. And I guess it was just simply a chord change, and I think that it was a minor chord progression that landed somewhere, I think it was actually a major chord progression for the most part, but landed on a minor chord, maybe on the third chord of this progression. Sorry to get real techie on you, but this is something that I really remember. And then, asking my mom, what is with this song? I love what happened right there. What is that? And she just explained to me that it was either the bridge of the song or that it was just the way the chords danced together. And as early as I can remember, I was interested in why and how I felt the way I felt from this music. So I guess that's my first music memory.
That's amazing. To me, that sounds like you've sort of like taken a projection of that, and that your music now is that all grown up and having taken everything else in along the way, that life gives you. Do you think that?
Come to think of it, a lot of my songs do have, sad moments and victorious moments within, the story, I guess, and it all goes back to that moment in the car with my mom,
Yeah. It's kind of humbling, don't you think?
Yeah, this whole experience is very humbling. In fact, anytime I write a song that moves me emotionally, it makes me feel the same way I felt as a little boy back then. I can only assume that there's at least a handful of others, other listeners out there in the world that'll feel moved the same way I did as a kid by the song I've written now, because I believe that I'm such a open book to all different genres and styles and time periods of music that I must have pretty good taste, because it's hard to stump me on something I haven't heard, although I'm open to hearing music that I haven't heard before, but I'm constantly just hunting for the next song that will move me, the same way I would like to move others with my music.
So you're always almost like on the hunt for your next musical utopia. What was the last one?
Exactly.
Yeah, what was the last one?
The last one?
Yeah.
Well, lately I've been listening to a lot of just records that I had like kind of in storage, and then I moved and I finally had this groovy old record player from, I think it's from the 60s, and it actually sounds the way that these records were meant to sound, through speakers, because it's old and pretty shitty, but I love how it sounds. So I've been kind of just floating around with background music, some classical music, and some mamas and papas. I've been listening to James Taylor, that Gorilla record. Has been a big one for me lately. All sorts of weird stuff. This guy, Mr. Acker Bilk, who did a bunch of standards in this interesting way from
yeah, I know him.
1962, I believe, and you know, I mean, I'd never even listened to this guy before, you know, a week ago, so I've been enjoying that. Musical utopia, though, I mean, I'm just so knee deep in writing all these new songs that I'm trying to find that utopia within myself, and it's really hard to do, but you know, every once in a while I get it. I think that Alt J record, as far as modern music goes, is the closest thing to matter to me in, I don't know, basically since Megalithic Symphony came out, this Alt J record is the only one.
Which one?
You know, that really blew my mind.
What, an Awesome Wave?
Alt J record, an Awesome Wave that came out. Yeah. I mean, it definitely happened over where you lived before it did over here in the States, but I remember when I fell in love with that record, that was, as far as, you know, my peers and modern music goes, they're the ones that when I heard that record, I thought, oh, okay, now I got to do even better, you know? So it was really inspiring to hear something that was pushing the envelope a little bit, because, you know, the radio and alternative music as a whole, I feel like, has become just a little bit cluttered right now. Everybody's trying to have that big pop crossover song, and, you know, a band like Alt J just drops down this beautiful artistic record that is also extremely catchy and weird and slightly psychotic, and so I was really moved by that record.
Yeah, it had the same effect on us when we first heard it, and we'll come back to Alt J. Okay, we'll come back to that towards the end. And
prior to that, the other record that I can't forget to mention was that Rodriguez record.
Oh my God! Yeah,
everybody's seen the documentary obviously now, but I actually discovered that record before the documentary came out. Someone asked me, "What do you think of Rodriguez?" And I was thinking it was going to be some like strange pop music like Enrique Iglesias or something, you know, because with a name like Rodriguez, right? So I'm going, yeah, this won't be good. And then I played it, and I'm like, wait a second, how do I not know about this record? Of course, like the rest of us, ended up falling in love. So that record lyrically is my favorite, you know, lyrical content in I don't even know how long. I mean, since the Beatles or Nirvana. I mean, it was a big record for me, even though it's old. Again, going full circle back to, I'm always hunting for something that is new to me. It doesn't matter what year it came out. So that Rodriguez record, Cold Fact, just blew my head apart. And then you know, a year after that, the Alt J record came out, and that was it for me at the time. And then, you know, I'm always discovering little one-hit wonders here and there from the past as well.
Where do you feel most artistically free and able to write?
There's no good answer to that. There really isn't. I wish there was. I'd like to tell you that it's at the beach or something romantic or sexy like that or whatever, you know, but oftentimes it's just whenever the powers that be feel like blessing me with an idea is really what it is, you know. There's sometimes where my brain just doesn't even feel like listening to music, where I don't even feel like being myself anymore, and I just want to go turn my head off completely. And then there's times where I just can't seem to do any wrong, which you caught me at a good time, because I feel like I'm on a good streak right now in the last 2 months, writing-wise. But you know, I've recently realized that as long as I have a piano around, I can figure out what needs to come next on a song, you know? So that's sort of been like my muse lately, is this one piano that's in this newer studio that I moved into recently, kind of closer to my home. And so, you know, I may have some sort of groove going on or foundation or a verse, let's say, or even a chorus, and then when it comes time to figure out what the next part is, you know, part B, if you will, I just sit down on the piano and it just kind of comes out, you know. So I've been lucky in that regard.
Yeah.
But there's no one place. I mean, these songs haunt me all the time. I'll be in the middle of the best sleep I've ever had, so I'll have to get up at 4 a.m. and go record this idea, otherwise I'll lose it. And trust me, I've let a lot of those songs go, and who knows where I'd be now, spiritually, really, had I actually woken up and taken the time to wipe my eyes and record these ideas. So there's been hundreds of songs that are lost, and those haunt me every night.
But the thing is, though, that with people like you, I kind of know what you mean, but in a way, it doesn't matter because don't you? You're a never-ending well of creativity.
I hope so. There's definitely been a couple moments recently where I also think that I've always been the underdog my whole life, and then this whole thing blew up for me. So I've been trying to rediscover the mentality that kind of went into the creation of this first album, and the mentality there was, fuck, no one's going to listen to it anyway, so I'll just try to make the hugest sounding record ever and do everything I want to and not let anyone tell me what to do. Well, now everybody's going to hear this next record, so I've been extremely focused on figuring out a way to get that chip on my shoulder back. And then I realized that's not really possible because I'm just in a different place now. So going full circle, now what I've decided is that, my assumption is that maybe people won't even understand this next record. So that's become sort of my, the enemy, if you will, of this record, which I don't know, I'm fairly competitive, but I'm really just competing with myself at the end of the day. So that's sort of been like the breakthrough for me is realizing that fear itself has been a good thing for me on this record. It sort of has fueled the fire, if you will, to make something spectacular. Which is a complete contradiction of one of my lyrics of the first record, I know, but things change.
Well, what do you think is the strongest, the strongest general emotion that you've had while you've been doing this recent writing for this record?
I think fear, fear of failure, fear of letting people down, because I couldn't really let anyone down that didn't know me anyways, right, before, so it was just a shot in the dark of and a very ambitious, the band name is ambitious, the record title was ambitious, the sounds, the recording, the way I went about it, all of that was because, like I said, there was no expectations. I think the label had high hopes, and probably my family and my loved ones and all those people were rooting for me, but at this point in my career, I felt like there's no way. I'd only known failure before. A lot of hope, but failure on top of that hope. So, and I think there's been a lot of optimistic sadness, really, in the writing of this record, this new one, which I'm sure you didn't even call to talk about the new one, but that's just what I've been working on. Meanwhile, getting ready to go play for you guys over there, soon. So we're going to play at least one new song when we go back over there. That's coming up, but yeah, fear has been a huge one. A little bit of sadness, looking back on a lot of the ups and downs of the road of the last, 3.5 years and all that. But it's almost like, I guess I assume the worst, but hope for the best.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been my mentality, but and I guess there's a little bit of sadness because the record did so well. Yeah. But that's not it. That's not the end. I always figured, okay, if I did, I had these sort of landmarks. If I accomplished this one thing, maybe the first time I sold out a show, okay, then I'd be happy. Or the first time maybe we sell 100,000 copies of anything, be it a record or a single, and then, millions later and all that, I still feel like the same weirdo I felt before. So there's no solution or answer to, what is happiness, or once you have money, you'll be happy, or once you have success, you'll be happy. But none of that really happens, if once you do better. In fact, it makes you even more confused in some weird way, or at least it does for me. I suppose others would beg to differ, but for me, I feel the same the same insecurities I felt before, the same confidence I felt before. All this happened, so I mean, just a lot of confusion really is what I feel. But you know, so sometimes I have to remind myself that everything's okay. I still feel like that guy who's been rejected a bunch, you know. And I think that definitely pours into the record, and that's why people have been able to relate so much to the lyrics. And a song like "Sail" being sort of a self-reflection of, you know, almost like a journal entry, because at the time I wrote it, I felt very, very estranged and weird, and it just poured out of me. And so, you know, on this record, it's going in the same way. I'm not forcing any of the writing; it's just coming out of me, however it may. And like much like the first one, this will be again just another journal entry of where I'm at right now.
Yeah. But what comes across so strongly is, speaking to you, is the intensity of how you feel. And that has got to be the key thing, hasn't it?
I'm Italian and I'm a Scorpio, so it's a deadly combination.
How fantastic. Oh my God, that's like the dream combination, isn't it? It just couldn't be better, yeah?
Pretty wild.